Time takes a toll on everyone, they say. Time is merciless, it won't wait for us to change. Time, I am stressing out, I can't figure out what to say. Oh, time, just give us time. Time, looking back on pictures, and I find it hard to see you and myself in places where we used.
Good morning, good afternoon, and a good evening from wherever you are watching us from here at the UNN TV. My name is Hanipher, for those of you who are new and wondering who is she. Yes, Hanipher, and I'm here yet with another episode of your Rise and the Law show here at the UNN TV. It has been quite a while since I was last here, and a lot of things have happened, both the good and the bad things. But in anything which has happened, we just only thank God that we are still here. I would like also to say thank you to all of you who reached out when I lost my mother a few about 2 months ago. That was so thoughtful of you guys to send out the condolence messages and that kind of thing. That was so heartwarming. Yeah, thank you very much. At the same time, I also send out my sympathies and condolences to any of you who's lost their loved ones. It is really heartening, or it hurts so much in a sense that I personally I had a very good relationship with my mom, and the fact that she's no more, oh God, things I never thought about, but now I have to deal with. But anywho, I'm trying to forge a way of moving forward. It is hard. I can never forget, but I can always move forward from her death, and I hope whoever lost their loved ones are also trying to find a way of moving forward. Well, on the same note, I am so scared of the COVID, I should admit. Yes, so I'm taking all the precautionary measures available to try to mitigate the factors of myself catching COVID, or my loved one, or anyone I know catching COVID, which is why I got vaccinated against COVID. I got my AstraZeneca. It became available to people who are 40 years and below where I live. So I'm like, oh well, I may as well go and get the AstraZeneca, which I did get about a month ago, and I'm doing well. I'm not yet a zombie. So I would say if the vaccine is available for wherever you are living, you may as well, go get it. It won't hurt a soul. So it would be very sad if someone died of COVID yet the vaccines were available, which would try to prevent death. So I'm not a medical expert. I'm just saying my own personal experience. So don't quote me wrong. I got the vaccine. Today, without any further ado, I hope you are sharing the video. Please do share the video with people you think might be interested in this video, and then also do not forget to comment and ask me a few questions which you feel might help you or you would love to know about. So without any further ado, I'll be going into today's topic, or the episode for today, which is good governance. Beautiful. So in today's episode, I will explore the concept of good governance. I guess you have all heard about this term if you are indeed an active citizen. Remember, we are not the most educated or the most knowledgeable individuals here at the UNN TV. All we are here for is to share with you all the little knowledge and the little skills that we have with you all to enable you become an active citizen. It is highly believed that it is only an informed citizen who can be an active citizen, right? Which is why we're here. So to begin with, the concept of governance is not a new term. It is as old as human civilization. As simply put, governance means the process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented or not implemented. That's pretty much what is governance. So good governance is an approach to government that is committed to creating a system founded on justice and peace that protects individuals' human rights and civil liberties. I keep calling liberties liabilities, but yeah, it's liberties. So good governance in a country cannot happen without a government, because the government is one of the actors in good governance. So there's no way it's going to be governance if there's no government. And a government is described as the body of persons, that constitutes the governing authority of a political unit or an organization. That is what we call a government. So governance can be used in several contexts, such as corporate governance, links in the banks, and corporate institutions, and then we have international government, say between countries like Uganda and any other country, and then a national governance, which is within the country, and then we have the local governance, for example, where your area of residence, say somewhere down there in Uganda. Then good governance is about people, institutions, and financing development. Governance is more about how people, through institutions, decide on how to obtain, produce, and use and distribute resources. There are many other actors involved in governance, which vary depending on the level of government that is under decision. So when we say that, it's like which level of government is deciding on something. For example, in rural areas, for example, actors may include influential landlords, associations of peasant farmers, and cooperatives. We have the NGOs, research institutions, religious leaders, and finance institutions, political parties, and the military. These all influence, governance. We have qualities of good governance. Where there is governance, there has to be good governance, and there are qualities. So according to the United Nations, good governance is measured by the 8 factors, which include participation, rule of law, transparency, and responsiveness, census-oriented, equity, and inclusiveness. We have effectiveness and efficacy, and then accountability. Yes, accountability. So let's see. Today, I will explore all the above mentioned in detail as I reflect on Uganda and what would have been done if there was good governance in our country. Do we have good governance? I myself, I believe no. So let's see how we go. Number 1 of the quality of good governance is participation. Where participation by both men and women is important for good governance. Participation can be either direct or through legitimate institutions or representatives, say your local member of parliament or your local council, and so on. And participation needs to be informed and organized. So informed and organized. You can't just wake up today and say, boom, here I am. This means that freedom of information and association and expression on the other hand, and an organized civil society on the other hand. So where we have participation, these have to be in place. All people and groups, including the vulnerable groups, minority groups, the weak and the powerless, are involved in the ruling or managing of the country, either directly or indirectly. So we shall maybe directly by yourself or indirectly through representatives. So not giving the whole task to just the one person to manage the country, just as it is the case in Uganda, where we give everything, that this is the current leader is managing everything. He appoints the minister of toilet, he appoints everything, you know. So then the second quality of good governance is the rule of law. This I've talked about before in my previous episode. So good governance requires fair laws that are enforced impartially, and the law enforcement institutions like the police and the courts of law. So when we say impartial, there is no being sidelined. Further, the rule of law also requires full protection of human rights, particularly the rights of the minorities and the poor, and the rights of the vulnerable, so that is the children, the women. So impartial enforcement of laws requires an independent judiciary and an impartial and incorruptible police force. And I don't know why I'm laughing. By impartiality, I mean treating everybody equally. For example, in the courts of law, judges are not biased towards one competitor over the other, which is what is in Uganda. So here, everybody must abide by the laws of this country, and actually no one is above the law. We are all, we have to abide by all the laws. And by everybody, it is literally everybody in Uganda or in a country. It won't matter if you are close allied to the first family, if your gross income is higher than the Ugandan GDP, or if you are the most qualified individual. Thus, everybody has to abide by the laws. So, rule of law also ensures that corruption and abuse of power is minimized. The views of minorities are taken into account, and that the voices of the most vulnerable in society are heard in decision making. So, if there was good governance, corrupt officials, for example, could be held accountable, tried in the courts of law, and are actually convicted, but we have heard or read again and again about officials who have embezzled public funds, have got unexplained wealth, like the lady someone who sold goats to purchase some government land, and there's nothing was actually done to these people. Actually, they were awarded a ministry position somewhere in Uganda. So because of the absence of good governance, we have normalized such immoral acts, where such individuals are actually awarded minister or senior positions after stealing from the people of Uganda. So there is no governance at all whatsoever in Uganda. And then the third quality of good governance is transparency. By transparency, we mean that decisions are taken and their enforcement are done in a manner that follows rules and regulations. It also means that information is freely available and directly accessible to those who will be affected by such decisions and their enforcement. It also means that enough information is provided, and that it is provided in easily understandable forms and media. You know how in each and every part of Uganda, the message to vote for the yellow regime reaches all remote parts of the country, right? But the information about COVID and what people are supposed to do cannot go past 50 kilometers out of Uganda, because right now people are confused, like, what is COVID anyways? So COVID is a disease for those living in Kampala. So further, transparency is also responsive to the present and future needs of the society. Under good governance, all leadership in place is appointed or elected accordingly to already existing laws. So a leader can't make laws that favor them to be elected, which is a case in Uganda. Thus, if there was good governance in Uganda, the already existing constitutional law, for example, that limit the number of times a presidential candidate can rule, and the age limit would have never in a million years been tampered with if we had good governance. Further, all decisions taken by the leaders and those managing national programs would still be based on the existing laws. So you don't do laws which favor you. You already use the existing laws. So also the other quality of good governance is responsiveness. Where good governance requires that institutions and processes try to serve all stakeholders within a reasonable time frame, where national programs and projects are put in place, should be made in such a way that they meet people's needs. And to ensure this, people must be consulted on what they need, because needs differ from community to community. But as much as possible, the priority needs to be community should be met over time or immediately as the situation calls for. So what is needed in Kampala is not really what is needed somewhere way out of Kampala. For example, during this pandemic, the COVID relief support or aid, well, it is over a year and a half since the pandemic started. However, little or no information or support whatsoever has been extended or has been received by the ordinary citizen. Yeah, there was money which was supposed to be received, which got lost somewhere in between, which is quite absurd. And any COVID project that has sprouted, it has been a massive failure, where the aid has not reached the intended communities in a timely manner. I hope people might get COVID, the support after 2024 when COVID is gone. Hence, if there was good governance, the process of extending support to communities and to Ugandans would be seemingly smooth and timely. Good governance is also consensus oriented. There are several actors and as many viewpoints in a given society, and so good governance requires mediation of the different interests in society to reach a broad consensus in society, or what is in the best interest of all community, and this can be achieved. It requires a broad and long-term perspective on what is needed for the society, for suitability of human development and how to achieve the goals of such developments. This can only result from understanding of the historical, culture, and society context or of a community. For example, many pre-colonial societies in Africa, known as pre-colonial societies were based on a consensus-oriented model where decisions were discussed and debated until a consensus was agreed upon. So good governance still calls for this kind of governance. In a similar way, good governance requires that different interests in society be balanced to reach a broad agreement in society on what is the best interest of the whole community, and how this can be achieved. It also requires a broad understanding of what is needed for sustainable human development and how this can be achieved. So decisions made by the rulers should be based on agreement of all people, not just the one person, So in Uganda, it's just the one person who makes all these decisions affecting millions of Ugandans, which is kind of crazy and out of, I have no words for that actually. And so These decisions are made by the majority, which is you, the Ugandan citizens, the 45 million Ugandans. And when, for example, when the Ugandan parliament passes a law, it must be agreed upon by all the majority of the members. Even though checks and balances in case of Uganda are put in place to ensure that the minority views are not completely overruled. The ideas of majority making rules or decisions in parliament has indeed been misused in a way that the yellow regime has the majority of members of parliament. Thus, decisions are easily passed favoring the yellow regime, because they are the majority. So because we're making decisions basing on the majority, so that is what happened in Uganda. Due to the lack of good government, a hell lot of bad decisions have been passed under the Ugandan government, and I can't even begin to mention which one, but we all know. The latest being the planned installation of car tracking devices by one bush war hero. We all know that one bush war hero rather. The other quality of good governance is equity and inclusiveness. And this is when a society's well-being depends on ensuring that all its members feel that they have a stake in it, and do not feel excluded from the mainstream of society. This requires all groups, but particularly the most vulnerable, to have the opportunity to improve or maintain their well-being. For example, structures be put in place and concerned about the women, youth, persons with disabilities, and workers. So in this way, the system would be promoting fairness and respect for the views and participation of all concerned. The workers' rights, where the Ministry of Gender and Labor is as good as a dead institution, research station. So in Uganda, I don't know what the Ministry of Health does, or rather Labor does, but we have one. Then we move on to quality of effectiveness and efficiency, where good governance means that processes and institutions produce results that meet the needs of the society while making the best use of the resources at their disposal. The concept of efficiency in the context of good governance also covers the sustainable use of natural resources and the protection of the environment. The resources that are used to run programs would have been correctly identified and used if there was good governance. For example, we have natural resources in Uganda, but still not good enough. When we talk about resources, we refer to money, we have equipment, we have workers, information, and any other asset needed to make a program effective. However, with the rampant corruption in Uganda due to lack of good governance, money is being wasted on programs, and programs are not being implemented and do not promote effectiveness or efficiency. Money, for example, the money we spend, Uganda spends on member of parliament cars would have never been spent. It would have been directed to more pressing issues. And you ask a question: why would Uganda need this money to be spent in the middle of the pandemic in the first place? So questions we have, and we have really no answers. So good governance also means that processes and institutions produce results that meet the needs of the society while making the best use of all the resources at their disposal. It also covers natural resources and the protection of the environment. We have seen how forests and natural reserves have been awarded and destroyed by shoddy investors, yet protection of the environment should be a first priority under good governance. We only have the one earth to live. We have no other plan B or plan B planet. So the other quality of good governance is accountability, where accountability is a key requirement of good governance, in a sense that not only government institutions but also private sector and civil society organizations must be accountable to the public and to their institutional stakeholders. In general, an organization or an institution is accountable to those who will be affected by the decisions or action of all their actions. In a political setting, the government is supposed to be accountable to its people, not the other way around. You get what I mean? So, and accountability cannot be enforced without transparency and the rule of law. Leaders in power should explain to the people they are leading how and what they have used specific public resources for, what programs are in place, and how they have promoted people's well-being. COVID funds up to date, there's still no accountability from any of the leaders in power, which is shocking. This is appalling. This is pathetic. I have no extra words to even explain this. So as I conclude, or in conclusion, good governance is indeed a missing link in Uganda's democracy, where Uganda is faced with challenges such as rigging of elections, lack of effective participation of citizens in the political processes, and poor management of election, culture impunity, political violence, guided nature of democracy, lack of independent election management institutions. We have lack of neutrality of external and internal monitors. We have insecurity in Uganda. There is ineffectiveness of Ugandan police and police force, weakness of political parties, lack of credible opposition to challenge the incumbent political party. We have in Uganda corruption and lack of accountability. There is overbearing influence of the executive over the organs of the government. And because governance is the rules and processes determining how decisions are made and implemented, if there was good governance, and of course this will be attained in the better Uganda, rules and processes will have to be legitimate, fair, decent, accountable. They would be transparent, they would be effective, and enable collective action to solve problems for the public good. This will include effective government, and would include the effective government including sound there would be sound public funding and also public management. And the above diagnosis pretty much fits neatly into the common argument of democracy and good governance issues in Uganda. We can achieve all this with a federal system of governance if in our better Uganda, or if we as Ugandans chose to had one, or we had one. For a better Uganda, my name is Hanipher, and a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good evening from wherever you are tuning from. For any of your suggestions, comments, feedback, you can leave that in the comment section below, or you can email us at our email address, which is hello@getunn.com. So I will be able to answer a few questions. I hope you have benefited something, or you are able to pick something from here. You're not here to listen to attack, but you are here to listen with the objective of learning. Listen to understand. That's the way forward. Actually, that is how we learn as well. So until next time, I hope to see you again. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, and ciao.